Welcome to the WFNL show, proudly presented by Arrow Transport, naming rights partner of the Western Football Netball League. What a massive weekend we had. Round 11, some ladder-shaping results. Some teams getting their first or just second win of the season. Great to have your company. My name is Brett Thomas, and joining me, two men looking resplendent in their new polo tops and their three-quarter zip as well. Spita, Adrian Spiteri, and Andrew Wilson, Willow from 88.9 Win FM. Welcome, fellas. Willow, you're looking great. You're nice and warm?
I am, thank you. Yeah, thanks to the league for providing a lovely jumper, a splendid jumper. Thank you.
Looking smart. And Willow, good weekend. You went out and saw some WFNL footy on the weekend?
I did.
Yep.
I saw a Point Cook take on Newport out at Saltwater Reserve, and as a second win for Newport, it was a terrific game in the end. Newport came back from 21 points down at three-quarter time, holding Point Cook scoreless in that last quarter to get the win by 12 points.
Yeah, some massive results. Spitter, where were you on the weekend?
I wanted to have a look at Parkside versus Werribee for a half, and it was a really entertaining half of footy. Parkside, 0-7 in the first quarter, and you thought that Werribee were back to their best form, but Parkside at quarter time turned it around, and their second quarter was phenomenal, and they were real strong at the contest. Got plenty of goals back on the board.
All right, hold fire there. We'll talk more in depth about those matches and more in TIV Division 1, Div 2, St Vincent Private Hospital, Werribee Senior Women's, and we'll have Eloise Fox giving us a wrap of the Belgravia Apparel Netball competition. Also coming up on the show, Plays of the Week, of course. We love that for round 11. The Arrow Transport Player of the Month as well for Div 1 and also Women's Footy. Arrow Transport Challenge, we'll have an update on that, and our Skins Special Effort Award winners. Let's crack in with our observations from the weekend, and we might as well start with some of the biggest results. We'll go with Albion and Caroline Springs. Willow, the two grand finals, Caroline Springs and Werribee both losing across the weekend.
Yeah, a bit of shock result for both sides, and a terrific win for Albion, their best win since coming back up to Division 1 a couple of seasons ago. Daniel Rosenberg brilliant with 6 goals. He was fantastic up forward for the Cats, and they really looking like they're going to cement their side place in the top 5, but they do have a battle on their hands. Hoppers are sniffing around still, so still a bit of work to do for the Cats. But they were terrific on the weekend.
And obviously you mentioned Parkside and Werribee districts. Parkside now, they've kind of crept up on everyone. 7 wins in a row, and their only 2 losses came against Yarraville in round 1. Sunshine, about a few weeks.
4 or 5.
About round 4 or 5, which now, Spitter, looks like a bit of a kind of surprise result.
Yeah, I suppose so. Sunshine have been a really good side, and for them to get a win against Parkside 7 weeks ago, I don't think it was out of the extraordinarily bizarre. Like that, they were in some really good form at the time, and I think they got that win by a few points. On the weekend, though, Parkside looked a really strong and established team. They've recruited well over the past couple of years. Particularly this season coming in, but they don't play like 6 or 7 players that are new to the club. They play like a team that's played 150 games together. They're really close, and they look it on the field. Yeah,
we've got Yarraville top, Parkside second, so the top 5's really started to shake up now, Willow, into TIV Division 1.
Yeah, we would have thought this time of year it was going to be Caroline Springs and Werribee districts. They were the 2 best sides for the first 8 weeks of the season, but now Parkside and Yarraville Seton have taken the mantle as probably the favourites, and I don't know, today's form, you have to say that's going to be the grand final this year between Yarraville Seton and Parkside, but I'm still not writing off Werribee districts or Caroline Springs. They're great teams for a reason, and I think they'll bounce back, and they're going to really push come September.
They're going to have to. Obviously their percentage is great, but now we've got Hoppers sitting 6th. They got a 22-point win over Altona, so they and Albion are just a game outside that top 5. Well, actually, Albion's just inside the top 5, but Hopper's just a game behind.
Yeah, they've got a much stronger percentage, Albion, and that might be the difference later on. They're both really good sides, and I think Albion against Parkside this week is going to be an absolutely brilliant encounter.
I think with Hoppers crossing this week, they're playing Point Cook Centrals. They've got to beat them and beat them well to get that percentage up. It's about 20% behind, and that's a game basically, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Div 2, and on the audio version of this podcast, we catch up with James Ford, Tarneet senior coach, and I'm sure he and the team are still high on their result on the weekend, their first win of the season against Laverton, and it was big, Spitter, as well.
Yeah, 73 points. that result earlier in the year, I think Willow mentioned, was just a goal. So, that Laverton won by. So a huge turnaround, and, a lot of work goes into getting a win. I think Willow also mentioned that they hadn't had a win last year. So
yeah, round 15, 2024 was their last win.
Yeah,
Wow.
So, a long time between drinks. So if they had a few of them over the weekend, I think they deserved them.
Yeah, well done to them. As the fellas have mentioned, long time between drinks, and I'm sure they maybe had a couple responsibly on the weekend. Wyndham Vale, they were pushed by the Suns the week before, but they got back to their strong winning ways against Auburn Vale on the weekend there, Spita.
Yeah, they did. 55 points in the end in the game that I like to call the Clash of the Vales, Wyndham Vale versus Auburn Vale. I think one thing we all probably do as footy tragics, we check the scores and we check who kicked the goals. Lewis Stanton 5 again. One thing that surprised me was that the other 9 goals for Wyndham Vale all by individual goal kickers. So a really, really good spread. They're showing that they've got a lot of firepower up forward. They've got classy mids who can kick goals, and they've got a really strong back line as well. So coming and have been good for quite some time. Good time to be sitting well on the ladder.
Their coach is Daniel Smith. We speak to him on the audio version of this podcast, and you asked him the question, Century Watch, can Lewis Stanton get it done? What do you think, Spitter? How many goals has he kicked, and how many more rounds we got to get to triple figures?
Yeah, well, he's got 7 to go, 7 rounds.
62 for the season.
Yeah, he's on 62. They play a mix of top sides and a mix of bottom sides. The thing with him during the year is that he's kicked goals against the top sides. He kicked 7 against West Footscray, or North Footscray kicked 8 against so 8 against North Footscray, who they've got in 2 weeks' time. 7 against West Footscray, they've got them in a couple of weeks' time, and then in between there they've got Laverton this week, Tarneet, who a couple of sides that are struggling, and maybe a few goal kickers. They'd be licking their lips, I suppose, going into them. But if he can kick a few, I think he'll get the ton.
All right, we love it. We love in any level of footy a player getting a century of goals. Some of the other results in Div 2, both the Footscrays had big wins. North Footscray 95 points over Braybrook. Bit of a surprise given how competitive Braybrook had been this season.
Yeah, they had been, but they'll have goals in the opening half, Brett. So a terrific defensive performance by the Devils. They'll be lining up their game in 2 weeks against Wyndham Vale, so that's what they'll be looking for. But doesn't get too easier for North Footscray. They play West Footscray this weekend, so a tough couple of weeks for North Footscray coming up.
All right, let's turn our attention to St Vincent Private Hospital Werribee Senior Women's Competition. We saw a classic Footscray match-up between North and West, and they came together not just for the match but also for a Pride round to celebrate that. Cal Rowe spoke to some players from West Footscray discussing the importance of Pride round for the league and for the club.
It's round 11 of the Western Football Netball League, and for most, it's an ordinary midwinter weekend of footy. But for 2 teams in the St Vincent Private Hospital Werribee Senior Women's Competition, it's so much more. This weekend marks the 5th iteration of the player-led Pride round between West Footscray and now North Footscray.
Hello, I'm Jessica Moody and I play for the West Footscray Roosters. Bok bok.
My name's Renee Benici and I play at North Footscray.
Hi, my name's Rom and I'm from the West Footscray Football Club, a player with the Senior Women's Program.
So it started up with an idea back when I was at North Sunshine playing. We had a really good coach at the time, Rob Telfer, and a couple of the crew, Kirsty and Macca, and they really got on board with getting one of our players, Mia, to be able to play. It was the first trans player to be able to get included in the league. It was a massive milestone for us, something we really celebrated, seeing such an inclusive environment. It's something that we wanted to celebrate even further. So I was always having good chats with Matt at Pride on a Saturday night and come up with the idea to do a Pride round. So then I thought, who should we do it with? And thought, why not the West Footscray Roosters? So then I had a good chat with Kelly Rowe, and here we are, 5 years on. It's pretty amazing. Personally, I love playing the Pride matches. They're really fun. It's just such a great environment, and we always look forward to it every year. Also getting to play against my old club, which is always a bit of fun. But I guess it celebrates, how diverse our teams are and the incredible environment that we have within the clubs. Something to really be celebrated. It's always played in such good spirits.
Pride round I've been playing for the last 5 years. I was down at North Sunshine first, and now we've brought it over to North Footscray playing against the Roosters, which is, it's been fantastic. So
Pride match, at our club we kind of affectionately call it Footy Christmas. It's a celebration. It's an opportunity to celebrate the queer people in our community. It's also an opportunity to celebrate the history of women's sport and women's footy, specifically for us, which is closely tied to queer history.
I'm Matt O'Keefe. I'm the CEO of Pride. We opened Pride in 2018, and it's good to be able to sit here today and have a chat about women's footy. We opened in 2018, and when we opened, we sponsored another sporting club. And they're a great club, but we didn't really there was no obvious link between Pride and the club, so you kind of feel like you're just giving sponsorship dollars for the sake of it. But a couple of our beautiful customers at the time were Jess Moody and Rob Telf, and some of the North Sunshine people, and Jess and Rob had come in and have a good time. So when we were looking to support a club the following year, we're like, let's give it to the people that support us.
Matt and Pride have sponsored North Sunshine players to play the game they love, and since 2021, run an annual drag bingo fundraiser, helping the teams to fund Pride jerseys, socks, and training tops that support visibility in the game.
It's still pretty new and pioneering for the women, really breaking the trail and trying hard and establishing clubs. Like, it's exciting to be involved with. And football's traditionally been a very masculine, straight kind of game. To have that demonstration where you see a rainbow flag down at the local footy oval, it just means so much. It's really driven from the grassroots up, so I'm so proud of the women for doing this and building this and being a part of it.
Pride rounds are really important. They're an important part of making footy and sporting clubs more inclusive places. Unfortunately, we know that 80% of LGBTQIA+ people experience discrimination and homophobia in sport. But one really good thing we can do is have Pride rounds, and we know that sporting clubs who host Pride rounds or Pride events experience a 50% improvement in homophobia, which means that ultimately those clubs are becoming more safe and more inclusive and more fun for everyone.
This year, the celebration was extended to include Yarraville Seton, with the Roosters and the Eagles playing out their Pride match in round 7 of the senior women's competition.
I'm Lena, I play for the Yarraville Seton Eagles.
I'm Susan, I also play for Yarraville. I am Jenna, or Treads, and I also play for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to pull the jumper on and play alongside West Footscray and North Footscray. Pride round makes me feel that there's somewhere that we belong. Yeah.
You're seen, you're heard, and you're safe to be who you are and do what you love.
We'd love to get the round going against all the teams in the league. I think that would be a really awesome accomplishment, something I've been thinking about trying to push for the next few years. So we'd love to get a round where everyone plays a Pride game, and who knows, one day maybe we can even get the men involved, which would be an awesome thing too, because there's queer people in all aspects of life, so everyone should be celebrated.
Thank you to Cal Rowe for putting that together. Pride round, great initiative and great work there from Cal. I'm sure we'll see her on the show in a couple of weeks. And her side had a tidy win there, Spita, 137 points over North Footscray on the weekend.
Yeah, very big win. Always nice to see the Roosters get a win. Men or women or reserves or under 18. I check them all every week. So I think one highlight out of that one though, Layla Dawkins kicking 10. Yeah. A huge effort. So well done.
Yep, her name might be mentioned a little bit later on in the show. Spare a thought for the Suns and Werribee Centrals. Fog in the second half, not just the first, made it very difficult for the players to see each other and see the ball. That was the Suns Werribee Centrals. Werribee Centrals got the win by 34 points. Parkside keep on rolling against Laverton. Laverton with them for the first quarter, but the Spurs just kicked away. And big wins for Wyndham Vale. Seton Eagles against Point Cook, and we mentioned there West Footscray as well. All right, so that's the footy in men's and women's. Now it's time to hear from Eloise Fox to share some insight in terms of what happened on Friday night in the Belgravia Apparel Netball competition. Take it away, Eloise.
Last week, our featured game of the round within the netball competition was our men's premier competition. The game was between Sunshine Smart and Auburn Vale Cobras Blue. This game, both teams are positioned first and second on the ladder, both teams holding top 4 goal scorers within that competition. Auburn Vale Cobras Blue are still missing Liam Kiley, who is a great asset to this team, particularly in the scoring end. He is one of the top 4 leading goal scorers, so when he does return to play, it'll be very interesting to see how this matchup plays out. For most of this game, Sunshine Smart were leading until half-time, where Auburn Vale Cobras Blue ended up scoring 20 goals to Sunshine's 10. Sunshine were missing key players such as Jaden Cowling, who is a Victorian men's reserves player, who does play more in the centre court, which then pushed their defender Joel Brown out to the centre quarter rather than where he probably is his strongest in the defensive end. Key matchup on court was between defender Harry Nelson and Carter Morrissey, who is one of our other leading goal scorers. And Harry Nelson did a formidable job playing on Carter, who is also scoring very high numbers this season. This game certainly was very entertaining and certainly is a key matchup to keep an eye on heading into finals. Within our Division 1 and 2 competition, our key game of the week is between Sunshine Schwartz and Hawks Sapphire. Currently, these teams are sitting 3rd and 4th on the ladder, and it will be very interesting to see how these games play out, particularly given that Hawks have won their last meetings by 9 and 6. It'll be interesting to see how the attacking and defensive ends meet up, particularly Hawks' attacking end, who do have leading goal scorer Manoa Aruni, as well as the youngsters Peyton Semeki and Beyonce Pallavi. Peyton, who has not played as many games for Hawks this season, but is also one of Victoria's state team players in the under-17s. Heading into this round, key matchups will certainly see if the defenders from Sunshine can overcome the strength of Hawks' shooting end.
Thanks to the local footy hub, you can now live stream Belgravia Apparel netball competition. So head to localfootyhub/stream Friday night to catch some of the key netball matchups taking place each week, and they will feature in our Skins Special Effort Award winners a little bit later on. But it's time now to take a look at the Arrow Transport Challenge, and let's see where that sits this week.
Moving with Arrow. We're here for the Arrow Transport Challenge with the Western Football Netball League, competing with different teams and different players. Get moving with Arrow.
Lock Green, Yale 7 Football Club.
Jack Robinson, Altona Football Netball Club.
Sam Roberts Tarnick Football Club.
Alex Owen Ross, Sunshine Football Netball Club.
Hussein Kadwa, Newport Football Club.
All right, fellas, it is time to introduce a new segment, Player of the Month for TIV Division 1 and St Vincent Private Hospital Werribee Senior Women's. You mentioned her earlier. Can you guess who may have been awarded the Player of the Month for women's footy there, Spitter?
Well, I only mentioned one, so I think it can only be Layla Dawkins.
Yeah, absolutely. The cherry on top of a really consistent season. 10 out of 11 times she's been named in the best, and she crowned that with 10 goals on the weekend. So well done to her. TIV Division 1, he's averaged 30 disposals, 9 clearances, 7 score involvements, 7 tackles. He is just dominating for Albion. Willow, can you tell us who that might be?
Caleb McPherson?
Yeah, absolutely. Not Darcy. Caleb McPherson. Well done to him as a WFNL Player of the Month. All right, now we have this compression wear. It's not the top though. I believe it's the tights there that our Skins Special Effort Award recipients receive. Thanks to Skins in recognition of a special effort on the footy field and the netball court. In round 11, the winners this week in senior men's, Braxton Sims from Point Cook, 41 disposals, 11 marks, 9 inside 50s, 10 clearances, 190 ranking points. And he's been named best player in 9 out of 11 games. So I reckon if he keeps that up, he'll be getting Player of the Month as well. Netball, Hayley Massenloop Tatusi from Braybrook. She's strong in the shooting circle. She's scored consistently over each quarter of the match, leading her team to a 49-41 win over Altona on the weekend. And she scored 45 out of those 49 goals. She's just loves a goal. Alec Maturchuk from Yarraville set in the Women's League. 25 goals for the season, named best player 7 out of 9. 3 over the weekend in Yarraville's 55-point win over Point Cook Centrals. And in the juniors, Muhammad Al-Wali from Newport Power kicked 7 goals and had significant impact on the game. So well done to them, our Skin Special Effort Award winners of the week. It is time for plays of the week. Anything you saw in your match, Point Cook Newport, or big bags of goals on the weekend you think might feature, fellas? Putting on the spot here.
Wasn't any major highlights from Point Cook.
Anyone drop a pie in the commentary box that was caught on film?
No, but appreciate the hot dogs and party pies that were supplied by Point Cook Footy Club. So thank you to the committee there, Dave Rouvray and the boys down there at Point Cook. Thank you very much.
All right, well, plenty of great highlights across the weekend in the WFNL, senior women's and men's. Here's the best of them. Time for another new segment. This is our team, or really club of the week. So we're not putting together a team, we're choosing an individual club, cross footy and netball, but what's your pick, Spitter?
Well, there's a couple this week I think that could really be in consideration. Obviously Parkside, a huge win over Werribee. Probably no one would have expected it to be of that significant margin. You could throw in Albion, you could throw in North Footscray, Wyndham Vale, they'd be all the usual suspects. I'm going to go with Tarneet because they've had a win for the first time in a year and a half, which I think, deserves that little bit of extra credit and who knows when the next one might be. So I say Tarneet as the team of the week for me.
Beautifully done, Willow.
I'm going to go Parkside, the backup, a win against Caroline Springs last week, and then to get the win this week against Werribee Districts, and they've moved up to second on the ladder. I would have gone Tarneet if you hadn't taken the Spitter, but Parkside, brilliant the last 2 weeks and brilliant again last week.
All right, let's move ahead to what's coming up in round 12. How good is the fixture working at the moment? It's not a floating fixture, it's just landed beautifully. That we have the two teams that beat the grand finalists, Albion and the informed team in TIV Division 1 Parkside this weekend, fellas.
Yeah, huge clash. That one at Albion, where they're a very difficult side to play against. Two sides with really big, strong midfields. The McPherson brothers, ball magnets. They're between the two of them are getting 75 touches a week. And then you throw in Josh Bench and young Will Naismith and some other classy mids in there. I think who was it? Ben Kaluzi had 38 on the weekend as well. So no problem for Albion to get the ball. From what I saw of Parkside, I think they're just going to be a bit too strong. They've got Zach Morris up forward, who was beaten for a quarter and a bit, and then he really started to stamp his authority on the game. Julian Janev, whose ability to get to contests on the weekend, I was really impressed with. Bruno Laguda. I think they're just really just a good all-round side, Parkside, and I think they're going to get the job done against Albion.
And then Caroline Springs, Werribee districts played in round 1, grand final rematch, and Willow both coming off losses, which I'm not sure how many times that would have happened in the last
not
couple
very often in recent times. Caroline Springs lost 2 in a row, while the Tigers have lost 3 out of 4 games, so both in a bit of a mid-season rut. No mid-season break as we've had in the past couple of years, so they're going to have to fight through it somehow. Whether injuries are playing a part at this stage, I'm not too sure, but it's a hard one to pick, but I'm going to have to probably pick the Lakers. It'll be a first win in a while that they've had over Werribee districts.
And Div 2 is actually our match of the round, North v West Footscray. That'll be huge this weekend on 88.9 Win FM and also the local footy hub, broadcast by Sportscast Australia. Your broadcast will start from 1:30.
1:30 on 88.9 Win FM, so join us then. We're at Hanson Reserve for North Footscray and West Footscray, second taking third in Division 2. These sides are probably expected to meet later in the season. You probably expect them to meet in the preliminary final, just the way the season has played out, similar to last year. But I'm going to tip North Footscray. It seems like Wyndham Vale are the best, North Footscray is second best, and there's a clear gap between West Footscray is the third best team. So I just think that's just the way it's going to go this season as well.
Do you see it going to script there, Spita?
I think Willow's spot on. I think North Footscray have proven to this point that they're the second best side, and West Footscray, and there is a gap between them and West Footscray. Look, the season's not over, and West Footscray plenty of opportunity and ability on the park to maybe either win this one or beat them again later on in the year, as Willow probably correctly predicts. But yeah, on this occasion, I think they're just going to be too strong at home.
Yeah, huge, and I'm sure Wyndham Vale will be sitting back and eagerly anticipating the result of that. We want to hear from you, by the way, as well, on the WFNL show. Which club should we visit? Our first ever club visit in an upcoming episode. Drop a comment and any questions you want us to ask as well. Our guests, especially on the audio version of our podcast, as we said, we have guests Jackson Ford this week, the coach of Tarneit, and Daniel Smith from Wyndham Vale as well. All right, that is round 11 in the books. Round 12 coming up this weekend. Spita and Willow, I'll catch you out at the Battle of the Scray on the weekend.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me.
And Spita will see you out and about as well. Thanks again for your company on the WFNL show, proudly supported by Arrow Transport.